Yes, hello everybody. Hare Krishna, thank you for coming. I appreciate that you've come to listen. We're going on to number 4 of our series. You will remember that the very first one was on self-realization. And in that one we talked about the fact that we need to realize, not just say it, but realize fully within our depths of ourselves that we are not this body and that we are an eternal soul entombed currently in a human body. The second one was sense gratification, because if you're going to accept that you're not the body, then of course the senses of the body are not relevant. So spending your life striving to fulfill material senses, we do have a spiritual body with spiritual senses, that's a different matter. But right now this material body with its material senses, causing us to run around focusing for our whole lives on satisfying these material wants and needs and senses, it's not good for our spiritual journey. The third one was on the super soul, whereby we were saying, okay, if we accept we're not the body and we're a soul and we should try to detach from material sense gratification, then comes the thought of, well, what is within our heart? And what is within our heart is not just our soul, but also the super soul. And the super soul accompanies us at all times. And the super soul is our guide and our witness to all our words, thoughts, deeds, activities. And is eternally with us. It's a little piece of God that's eternally with us. We talked about that. So today we're on surrender. Now on the topic of surrender, one should probably start with what is surrender? And in the simplest term possible, surrender is to accept that we are here to serve and to do the will of our Creator. We were created for the purpose of serving the Lord. That is our ultimate, original, eternal purpose. And so if we are here to serve the Lord and we can accept that and fully accept that, and we're not here to serve ourselves, then that is called surrender. Now, in terms of service, since we were created to serve, that is what we are all doing. We are all serving. The problem is there are 2 ways to serve. You can serve on the material side, which is what most of us are doing. Serving on the material side, serving ourselves, serving our goals, aspirations, wants, needs, things that we want to buy, things that we want to eat, movies that we want to watch, holidays we want to go on. It goes on and on and on. We are serving ourselves most of the time. And the rest of the time we are serving other things in material nature. So you buy a house, you're forced to serve because you need to serve the needs of the house. You've got to maintain it. You've got to have security. Mothers are serving their children. At your job, you're serving your boss. All of us are serving our country. We pay rates, we pay taxes, we go to work so we can pay the rates and taxes, so we can build the roads. So we're all serving our country. Everybody's serving somebody. Even the rich and famous are serving. They're serving their careers. They're serving the needs of trying to look young at all times. That's their quest. I must service this need of trying to look young at all times. I must run to the best possible Botox person I can find. Twice a week. So we are serving. But it would be better if we could switch the service from the material to where it's meant to be focused, which is to serve the Lord, to serve and please God. This is no mean feat. This is not an easy thing to do. And 99% of people haven't got it right. You have to be a pure, highly developed soul to get that fully right. Jesus was one. And there are saints who have achieved this. And the man who's brought all these teachings to the West out of ancient Vedic Indian Sanskrit writings, which were delivered by the Lord to this planet. 5,000 years ago. The man who brought that to the West was such a pure soul. His entire life was spent serving the Lord, spreading the Lord's message, trying to bring more people home, bring us back home, out of material existence, back to where we came from, back to where we belong, back to where we can serve in person to the personal form of the Lord in the spiritual realm, of which, according to Vedic culture, there are an infinite number. As I mentioned before, you can light an infinite number of candles from one candle, assuming that one candle itself is infinite and never dies and goes out. Then you could light an infinite number of candles, and they would all have the power of the first candle, and there'd be no loss of power of the first candle. So those expansions or forms of the Lord, there are so many of them that one could have a personal relationship with in the spiritual kingdom. It's not some conception of some magical, mystical, invisible, giant, white-robed old man with a beard story. Why would God be old? God can be whatever he chooses to be. He can appear to you as an expansion of a child. If that's how you want to serve, if that's your core service mode, which is to be a parent, serve like a parent, that's your core mode. That's your eternal core service calling, so to speak. Then in that case, the Lord will reciprocate that need of yours, and he will appear to you, and you will relate with him in the spiritual realm as a toddler, as an adorable toddler who has all the powers of the Lord because he's one of those candle flames. But he chooses to appear as a toddler, and you can serve him that way. Or if you want to just be on a friend basis, he can appear as a young teenage boy, and you can run around in the forests and climb trees and play in the lake and do all such things. So that is where our service is ultimately meant to be aimed. And yet here we are stuck on this material plane because we didn't want to do the service. And the same kind of feel is there in the Bible as well. Of, well, you wanted the knowledge, you wanted the tree of knowledge, you want to know everything, you want to be like me. So here, I give you this world, I give you the plants and the animals to live, you go. That same feeling is there of, well, if that's what you want, if you want to be separate from me and you want to run your own affairs and you want to serve yourself only and not serve me, then I give you that facility. Here is a material body, here is a material planet, you be the kings of it, you be the rulers. And so that propensity to not want to serve the Lord and rather serve ourselves is what's, according to Vedic writings, which have come from God, is the reason we are here in these material bodies. So the fact that we're here in these material bodies doesn't mean we can't remedy the situation. We can still surrender and say, right, I finally get it. I'm not here to serve myself. I'm not here to serve the government. I'm not here to serve the council. I'm not here to serve the boss. I'm not even here to serve my family members. I'm here to serve the Lord. And that's what I'm going to focus on from now on. Then in that case, you're starting to fulfill the obligation and the duty. And it's not a horrible duty. Even in this mundane place that we live in, we know that there can be immense joy in service. I, for example, love cooking for people. That's service. I know it's not exactly service to the Lord. It is service to people. I've always loved cooking for people. And serving them and seeing them enjoy the food, I get a lot of pleasure. It's hard work. Before and after the prep and the cleaning up, it's hard work. But I get a lot of pleasure from that. So serving doesn't have to be unpleasurable. Any mother will tell you that she's serving her baby, she's serving her toddler, she's running around cleaning up and giving it clean nappies and making sure it's fed and clean and happy, and playing with his little baby toys, the mothers get great pleasure out of that. So serving doesn't have to be some horrible thing where there's some slave master with a whip saying, go and dig that hole and move 10 tons of rocks to the other side. That's not what I mean. And that's not what is meant by service. So we need to surrender and accept that our ultimate bliss and joy will come from serving the Lord. And to make it even better, we get to serve while here on planet Earth in this body. We get to serve in our own unique way. We have full freedom. We've been given full autonomy and independence in choosing the ways in which we would like to serve. There are innumerable ways, and it depends on your own skills, interests, and passions and talents. So you might find, if you're very, very artistic and creative, that you might start serving by doing Krishna art, doing art of a more spiritual nature that's got a message in it, that's capable of bringing the viewer closer to God. Or you might make Krishna garden art, if you like gardening and you're arty. You might go into, I'm going to make garden art that can bring people closer to God, that can make them sit in the garden and have a little think. If you're good at cooking, then when you're cooking, and even if you're not good at cooking, when you're cooking, we ought to be cooking for the Lord. And this is another very, very hard one to do, because while you're cooking, you know you're cooking for your husband. But that's the material conception, that I'm standing here in this kitchen cooking for me and my husband. But I need to try to switch that. I need to be cooking with God on the mind, saying these are your ingredients. You are the owner. You are in every single atom, as I told you with the super soul. The super soul is in every single atom. So every single atom of that tomato has a super soul in it. The super soul is required for the atom to sustain. And so, because matter cannot exist without spirit, it's not that spirit came out of matter. It's the other way around. It's not that matter was here first and then spirit kind of came along somehow. Even the very atom has its own super soul. So while you're cooking, you're recognizing that and acknowledging and being grateful and being thankful, and in your mind you're cooking for the Lord as if he was here, and you're offering it to God, and then you're eating. And in the Christian faith it's exactly the same. Saying grace, being grateful, thanking the Lord. So there's just so many ways of doing this service. Singing, if you've got a great voice, then don't sing some mundane, meaningless, human-made song. Sing transcendental music, sing spiritual music. If your music is going to bring even one person closer to God, is going to help even one person get closer, a step closer to coming back home, then that is service and that will please the Lord. So many people are musical with instruments or with singing, and then we've got the creative people, and we've got the people who like to cook. There's just so many ways. Teaching, what I'm doing, I'm trying to spread the word. Since I'm a teacher, I thought, well, I have skills with that, so let me put that to work. Trying to just distribute the books that Prabhupada brought, that pure soul, saintly man that brought the stuff to the West, trying to let people know about his books and distribute his books. That is service. So to do this service and to accept that I've got two choices of serving. I can serve uselessly. That's going to take my soul absolutely no closer to going home, and that'll be material service, or I can do my service the way it's meant to be. And when you choose the way it's meant to be and you're actively attempting and striving, I'm not saying wonderfully succeeding, because I've made it clear from the beginning that I'm a beginner. I don't wonderfully succeed. But I know that that's the right path to do, and I'm striving and trying daily to switch the service from the material side to the spiritual side. Even if I'm doing my gardening now, you might look at a person in their garden and think, oh, she's just doing gardening like any other person, but I'm trying to make it a different type of gardening. So while I'm gardening, I'm dedicating my work and my blisters and my aching feet because I hate the gumboots, and I'm dedicating that to the Lord and saying, look, I'm making a beautiful Krishna garden, so that when people come here to my house to do kirtan, which is meaning to sing and chant and hear about the Lord, or when any guests come, that I could inspire them with my Krishna garden. So, yeah, there are so many ways, innumerable ways that one can switch service modes like that. And that is surrender. So, to back that up, we have our usual, we have some quotes, just to show you how very, very, very important this service and surrender is. Surrendering, submitting to the will of God, which is, you are here to serve me. That is what the Lord is telling us. You are here to serve me. Surrender to me and serve me, and you will see the rewards that it brings you. Right? He's not a cruel taskmaster. He wants a reciprocal relationship with us, and that means he is the served and we are the server. Right. So in the Bible we've got James chapter 4 verse 7. Submit yourselves therefore to God. Romans chapter 12 verse 2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God. The will of God. Not the will of the ways of the world. Do not conform to the ways of the world and the expectations and the needs and the wants of the world and serving worldly people and worldly things. Be transformed, renew your mind, discern, try to find out what is the will of God. Matthew chapter 26 verse 39. And going a little further, he fell on his face and prayed, saying, so this is actually about Jesus, when he was about to be arrested to go to the crucifixion, and he knew it was coming. He knew. This was very shortly before the whole arrest was going to happen. And so he said, the Bible says, and going a little further, he fell on his face and prayed, saying, my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will. So even on his way to certain horrible, awful death, he was afraid. And yet, even though he was saying, is there any way you can take this task from me? But if not, it's your will. I do your will. And so he did, right to the very end. He said, not as I will, but as you will. Matthew chapter 7 verse 21. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Does the will of the Father who is in heaven. John 4 verse 34. Jesus said to them, my food is to do the will of him who sent me and to accomplish his work. And that is what Prabhupada did too when he came to the West. It was the will of the Lord that Prabhupada bring those words of God to the West from the Sanskrit writings. Prabhupada was 70. He was old. He wasn't in the best of health. His heart nearly conked out twice on the voyage, on the ocean voyage. This was in the 1960s, so there wasn't great technological help available for him. So his heart he had 2 heart attacks on the boat coming over. He had no money. He had no contacts. He had no friends. He had no plan. Yet he got on that boat and he came. Because it was the will of the Lord. You don't think that maybe Prabhupada wanted to stay in his own home country where he had grown up his whole life? But no, he came to the West. John chapter 4, verse 34. Jesus said to them, I've done that one, sorry. Acts chapter 20, verses 22 and 23. And the person speaking is Paul. And Paul says, and now behold, I am going to Jerusalem, compelled by the Spirit, not knowing what will happen to me there, except that the Holy Spirit testifies to me that imprisonment and afflictions await me. So here's another one. Paul knew terrible things lay ahead. And yet, it was the will of the Lord that he went, and he went. So putting the will of the Lord ahead of your own, I'm sure it wasn't his will to go to prison. But that was the will of the Lord for part of the plan that was devised by the Lord, and we don't understand what that might be. Bhagavad Gita now, going to the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 66. And I really, really appreciate this one a lot, because it might not be what it sounds like. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. I like it because abandon all varieties of religion is something very dear to my heart. Why do we have to have so many religions? And everybody thinks their religion is the one, the right one, and everybody else, oh, you're on the wrong track, you're going nowhere good. Yet all religions admit there is one God. They're all saying, oh, there's this one God. Yes, the one God. But he's ours. He's not yours. We've got him. You don't have him. Your God's not the God. Of course, all religions have the same God. And so God himself is saying, you don't need to worry about all these different varieties and designations of, I'm a Catholic, I'm a Methodist, I'm a Hindu, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Hare Krishna, whatever they might be. Don't worry about all these designations. He's saying, it's simple. Just surrender unto me, and I will deliver you from all sinful reactions, from all bad consequences of all your sins that you've ever done, all the bad things you've ever thought and done, thinking it's as bad as doing it. So and we've all got lots of that going on. And yet we will be delivered from the consequences. We don't need to be afraid. We will be delivered if we surrender. And in the Bible they ask you, surrender to Jesus. Take Jesus into your heart and surrender to Jesus as your spiritual master. And surrendering to Jesus means following his instructions, which are designed to bring you into the service mode, the service to the Lord, just as Jesus himself did. He modeled it perfectly for us. Service to the Supreme Father, service to God, service to the Lord. His will, not our will. Even in the Lord's Prayer, thy will be done. So, how simple can God make it for us? Saying, don't worry about all these names of religions. Just love me. And surrender to me. Surrender unto me and I will deliver you. Nothing to be afraid of. Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, verse 1. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. I reward them accordingly. Chapter 7, verse 19. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. So, the cause of all causes, the one God. Now, we have some slight difference here between religions, if I can call it that. We have the Christian religion, which isn't into incarnation. There are a couple of places in there that might hint at it, but it's not really a thing in the Bible. And then we've got the Vedic religions, which are seriously talking about the fact that our soul is eternal. So it's always existed. Eternal means no beginning, no end. No beginning, no end. So although the Bible might say that the soul, or imply that the soul came about with conception, the Vedics aren't going that way. They're like, no, the soul is eternal. So there are discrepancies between religions, but in the end it doesn't matter, because both religions prescribe the same treatment for our woes, our material woes, anxieties, pains, diseases, separations, loss of money, stress, death. Both prescriptions are exactly the same on how to live one's life. The surrendering, the serving, the loving God, the avoiding lustful behavior, avoiding wasteful talk, all these chats I've had before on this channel. It's all in agreement. And the consequences are in agreement too. The one religion might say, you do this behaviors, you live this way, and you go to God. And you don't, and you go somewhere horrible. And the Vedic one's doing the same. It's saying you do this, you live this way, you behave in this manner, you love in this manner, you serve in this manner, you go back to God. You go back to Godhead. You go back to the heavenly kingdom. You go to have a personal relationship in spiritual form. And if you don't, you go somewhere bad. And you know where the going somewhere bad is. It's back into a material body. And there are way worse places in the Vedic scriptures. There are way worse places than this planet to come back in a material body. And even if it is this planet, you might come back as a fruit fly. And you're entombed in a fruit fly body, forced to act like a fruit fly for the duration of its life. So it is agreeing with the Bible. You don't follow these service regulations and love the Lord and serve the Lord and surrender, then you go somewhere bad. So in the end, it's the same. You do this, and you go somewhere good. You do this, and you go somewhere bad. What the details are doesn't matter. I just know I want to go the good way. So that's what I'm trying to get across here. And the last quote, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 14. This divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered to me can easily cross beyond it. So even the material world, as we know, with the super soul in every atom, that is still God. God is present in material nature. And the three modes that are mentioned, the three modes of material nature is, according to the Vedic scriptures, we are living in various mixtures of three basic modes. There's the mode of ignorance. There's the mode of passion. Not type A personalities, very driven, very focused, very ambitious, want to get things done. And then there's the mode of goodness. And most people have mixtures of these in varying proportions. And we need to transcend all these three modes, even the mode of goodness. We need to transcend all three. We need to be out of these three material modes to get back to the spiritual home. And so it's very difficult. Even God himself says to, it is very difficult to overcome. It is very hard to break free from material existence, material wants, needs, desires. It's very, very hard. But he says, those who have surrendered to me can easily cross beyond it. What does it mean, cross beyond it? It means literally cross from material existence to a spiritual body in a spiritual realm, where there, as we all know from all religions, it tells us there's no death, there's no disease, there's no old age, there's no suffering, there's no sorrow, there's no pain. All religions will tell you that. And that's where I'm trying to get to, and that's what I'm trying to help people to possibly start reading and start trying to make some small changes maybe. Just start small. Nothing is wasted. Even we are told in the Vedic literature that even if you just take one step towards God, He takes many more towards you. So we say it's reciprocal, but it's more than reciprocal. It's not like we take one step to the Lord and He takes one step to us. It's more like He's just waiting for us to take a step. Take a step. And He'll take many steps towards you to assist. So I hope it was of use. And thank you for listening, everybody. And Hare Krishna.